People who separated, divorced within 1 year of getting married. When did you know it was a mistake? Not me, but a friend of mine. They had been married about 6 weeks. She had just moved in when they returned from the honeymoon, and she was rearranging furniture, organizing closets, etc., one day while he was at work. She started pulling some of his boxes down from a closet shelf to make room for her things, and a box fell down accidentally, spilling hundreds of pictures of child porn. Divorced the pedo after reporting him to the military police. They were both in the military. Abusive relationships especially. It's remarkable what you begin to think is normal or is your own fault. My son's dad would threaten me, call me horrible names, tell me I was fat and useless and ugly. He told me he would kill me if I ever went for full custody. And for a long time I actually believed I was the one who was a bad partner. I felt like I deserved his treatment of me. It still fucks with me mentally, and I've been out for over 5 years. And honestly, the only reason I got out was to protect my son. A couple of weeks into our marriage, the sex started to physically hurt. I went to my OB, and after a test or two, she informed me I had contracted chlamydia. That's when I knew. Turns out, my newlywed husband had been banging his coworker for months. A cousin of mine married someone who seemed like the perfect woman. They worked in the same store together, and he would brag about how his wife was getting promoted quickly in the company. A few months into the marriage, she tells him she's going out with friends for the evening. An hour or so later, my cousin gets a call from one of his friends. The friend saw her having dinner in a restaurant with the manager of the store that they both worked at. Once he confronted her about it, that was basically the end of the marriage. This was similar to a friend of mine. His wife spent years trying to alienate him from his friends. After they got married, they bought a house near his job. She decided she didn't like the commute to her job, even though it was practically the same, and started staying at her parents'. Friend finds out from her parents she hasn't been staying there. Turns out she was going out and partying with coworkers, then staying with an ex. Not me, but a female friend knew approximately 4 to 6 weeks into marriage. Her husband at the time basically spent a few years prior to marriage being a bit of a salesman to everyone. Once they got behind closed doors, his traditional marriage roots really came out. They both had fast-moving careers, and while he was okay with her making money and having a career, he also expected her to cook, clean, take care of the dogs, etc., and never lifted a finger. He would just come home and pound drinks until dinner time. Not me, but a cousin. Me and my family were at her wedding reception sitting outside on a deck. My cousin comes out to sit with us for a bit and pulls out a pack of cigarettes. Her first words were, "Please don't tell him I smoke." They moved to California a few weeks later and divorced within a week of being there. Should mention they were engaged before she got out of high school. Oh God, this exact same thing happened at a wedding I attended about a week ago. She also ran around announcing to everyone that she has to speak for her husband because he's so awkward. He doesn't know how to mingle right in front him. Poor dude looked so uncomfortable the entire time. When I was about to leave, she made a joke about how it probably won't last because he's so shy and weird, but then assured me that it won't happen because they're both too religious for divorce. Edit, I forgot to add that during the ceremony he struggled putting on her ring. It was too small, so she then made fun of him in front of the church for not knowing how to put on a ring. Knew before we even got married. Spoke about how I thought it didn't feel right with my family a couple months before the big day, but was told it was just cold feet and we'd be fine after the wedding. Almost a year later I was still miserable, so I left. Was an absolute shit storm, but so worth it. My dad made a big deal when my siblings and I were each engaged that, if we weren't sure about going through with it, we could call it off at any time. Even in the back of the church when the ceremony was starting, he checked with us to verify we still wanted to do it. I always knew I wanted to go through with it, but it's still nice to really know it was my decision and not something I was pushed into. And I know plenty of people who weren't really sure but felt like it was too late to change their mind. I got married shortly after tech school. About 4 months after. We made plans for her to move from NC to TX to join me, as I am in the military and can't move. 3 times I brought it up, 3 times she said she just needed more time to move, finally the 4th time she said she couldn't leave her friends and family to move across the country to start our lives together. A year later, we were divorced, or well, I divorced her. She obviously didn't come down to Texas for that, signed a waiver of citation to not get any news about it, so I basically got to divorce myself, which, after hearing how vindictive ex-spouses can be, I chalk that up to a blessing. Not me, but my cousin and her husband met at work. Both independent and career-focused. When they got back from the honeymoon, he immediately started treating her like his mom and told her she would need to give up work to look after the house. No talk of that before the wedding at all. I think they lasted 4 weeks married. Less than a year into actively trying to get pregnant, he got discouraged, gave up and started staying out until 4:15 a.m. with his coworker. He posted selfies on her couch on Snapchat and even went as far as asking her to marry him once he could get rid of me. He had 2 biological children, my stepchildren, that he abandoned at home with me while he was out doing this. The icing on the cake was that on my favorite holiday, while holding my brand new baby nephew in front of his entire family, he told me he wanted a divorce. I was gone in 2 weeks, left everything to him, and vanished. New number, new address, everything. Best choice I ever made. Got married in late May. By August or September I found out from my dad that he was sexting my brother's wife, who was my bridesmaid at our wedding. She felt guilty and told my dad, who had to tell me. I forgave him like a dingus, and about a year and a half later I found pictures of him sucking 2 different dicks in our house and also wearing quite a bit of my nice makeup. All of this after we moved to Washington from Florida. It's been wild. We're obviously divorced now. Not me, but my brother. We grew up on a ranch. Bro's girlfriend comes from the city, but during visits to the ranch, she dives right in, helping our mom around the house and participating in all the stuff we do, horseback riding, ATVs, etc., and claiming and appearing to love it. Brother's so happy his city gal is compatible with the ranch lifestyle he grew up in, even though he is now working in the city and their life will be in the city. He just loved that she was able to connect with him that way, and more importantly, with his family. They date for approximately 18 months, make many visits to the ranch, and all is well. She insists that she wants to have her wedding at my parents' home. My folks go all out, have both families there, everyone has a great time. The next morning, we have a send-off breakfast for the couple. They head to the airport for their honeymoon. My mom and bride's mom are visiting afterward, and bride's mom mentions she's glad my mom had no hard feelings that her daughter and my brother will no longer be coming out to the ranch. My mom is like, "What do you mean?" Bride's mom says, "Oh, I thought Laura told you that having the wedding here was her gift to you to have your son home one last time with all his family here." My mom goes white as a sheet. We all are stunned. We are confused as to whether my brother knows this, and more importantly, has agreed to this. My other brother, who has his own history of family drama, texts our big bro saying, "Is it true that this is your last time visiting mom and dad?" And big bro texts back, "What are you talking about?" Middle bro says, "Ask your new wife." Needless to say, the honeymoon never happens. It turns out that his wife had been hiding her belief that that man leaves his family behind and becomes part of the woman's family. It was fully her intent to never visit my parents again, to spend all holidays at her parents' home, to have any future children only have relationships with her family, and on and on. My brother literally had no idea these were her beliefs, desires. To this day I don't know if she was evil or just clueless. They remained married for about a month until the divorce was final, but my bro never saw her again after the day after wedding day. Before we even got married. I never wanted kids and never wanted to get married, which he knew. Lo and behold, I got pregnant. He wanted to keep the baby. I had no health insurance, so we got married. Love my daughter to death, but getting married was the worst mistake of my life, and I knew before we got married that we were doing it for the wrong reasons. P.S. to the ladies out there, never trust a guy when he says his doctor told him that he's infertile because he has slow swimmers. I was stupid enough to believe him. It's a tie between when my friends pointed out that I had to ask for permission to do anything and reading what his grandmother wrote about me in the family newsletter they sent out. I should have left when he ran away from my stepdad's house at Thanksgiving because he thought he was allergic to weed and they were going to kill him. He's a doctor now, so I hope he looks back on himself at 19 and feels dumb for that. Also, we'd been engaged for like a year and I don't think he ever told his parents. I feel really dumb in retrospect. Thanks for listening our videos. Please subscribe and like for more daily videos like this.